Welcome back to the show, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Now, before we get going, hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button. It helps this channel to grow. Now, of course, last time out, we beat Gary O'Neill at Molineux, his new home, 1-0. He wasn't particularly happy with it, but who cares? A victory is a victory, and we are sat within the top 10 now. Now, our opponents have just fallen out of the top 10. We actually moved above them, and they couldn't regain their place after getting beat by Manchester City 4-0. To be honest, Manchester City beat everybody, don't they? Let's be fair. But, of course, our opponents are another team from down the south coast. Now, don't panic, everyone, because it's not that lot down the M27. We are playing the other decent side on the south coast, of course, Brighton and Hove Albion. And Brighton finished 6th last year, went on a European journey and beat giants of the game like Ajax, Marseille, AAK Athens, and also beat Roma as well. Now, I am speaking to one of the leading Brighton and Hove Albion YouTubers out there. He's got the biggest Brighton and Hove Albion YouTube channel. Of course, it is the one, the only, Luke Links. Welcome back to the show, Luke. How you doing, mate?
Doing really well, man. It's a pleasure to be on here once again, Craig.
Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, you are the host of the most popular Brighton show out there. So honestly, mate, your videos were fantastic from the European adventure. What was it like actually being there in person?
Fantastic. You know, this season's not been the greatest performance-wise and result-wise, but we've definitely taken some extremely good experiences from going to the likes of Greece and Amsterdam, and it's been a real good laugh. It's been a good time out there, and you know, just getting through the group stage. You know, I'm just very happy we've gotten past that, and we had, you know, a few good wins under our belt away. So it's been really good fun, and to see, you know, these different fans and how the football culture is in these different countries, to really experience it in the flesh it's been incredible, man. Really good.
Mate, honestly, I am envious of the journey you went on. You won the group as well. The only defeat was at home to AAK Athens, but yeah, it was just a fantastic journey going to Marseille, beating them, you know, at home. You know, going to Greece, of course, after they beat you at the Amex, and then going to their home ground and beating them in their own backyard. It's just such a great journey, and of course, you did bow out against Roma. Understand you did go to that game. What was that like? Because that's a bit of a different type of experience, that game.
Yeah, it was quite menacing, quite scary at times. I don't know if you heard about the stabbings as well. That, you know,
Yes,
some Brighton fans
unfortunately.
got stabbed as well. So it was scary, especially hearing that news while you're still out there. It
Yeah.
was a bit worrying, but yeah, in terms of the football, in terms of being in the stadium again, massive stadium, incredible atmosphere, and to be honest, the recent form that we had at that time as well wasn't very good at all. So we were all thinking this could be our time up here, because we know how Roma are, we know how experienced they are in this competition, and we kind of just went to enjoy it, and we brought great atmosphere, and we still enjoyed ourselves, even though, yeah, we still lost 4-0.
Nah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. And like I say, it's a experience that we could only dream of. You know, we've been dreaming of the Europa Conference League, potentially getting into that. But yeah, it looks like we're going to have to wait our time to go to the back end of Moldova. So say, because of course you got into the Europa League, a better competition
Yeah.
than what Aston Villa are currently still playing for. And yeah, full credit to you guys. And what Roberto De Zerbi did last year was incredible. Do you think, a bit like Newcastle, it was always going to be very difficult to kind of match what he did last term?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the problem, is we had such good mentality last season, and we're forgetting the fact that we had better players last season, whereas this season we have a bit of a more younger squad in the sense of mentality-wise. You know, in the likes of McAllister last season, he's still a young player, but he's incredibly experienced and mentally on it constantly. And
Yeah.
Leandro Trossard as well. And now we've replaced Leandro Trossard with young Simon Adingra, and we've replaced all of these big players like Moises Caicedo with Carlos Baliba. And, you know, Carlos Baliba's my age. He's born in 2004, and they're very, very young. So the mentality isn't there yet. And that's where I think we've been struggling to score recently as well, is because, you know, as much as Roberto De Zerbi likes this attacking football and likes us to shoot outside the box more and do all that, I don't think they have that killer instinct yet because they are just so young. And that's where the differences between last season and this season is, of course, player-wise, and of course, injury-wise. And we're just not used to playing this many games. So it's a little bit of everything. And when it all comes together, that comes a big thing, really, and that's the reason why we haven't done as well this season. But I'm hoping, obviously, you know, these youngsters have, you know, got themselves a little bit more experience, and then hopefully into next season we can maybe spend a little bit and hopefully buy some more experienced players to help these younger lot progress a bit further, so we can, you know, keep ourselves at the top 10 level, which you guys are now at.
Well, I was just about to say that, because all season you've been in the top 10, apart from, of course, recently when we've crept into the top 10. You've dropped out of it, but you do have the game in hand, and you've still got the chance of getting into Europe, albeit it's going to probably be the Europa Conference League. But this is going to be a must-win for you guys, isn't it?
It definitely does in terms of European competition. But we've got to remember, like, you guys are not easy to beat right now. And
yeah,
what was it? The 27th of February is the last time you haven't scored a goal. So you guys have been banging in goals ever since that game against Leicester in the FA Cup. And that's where Bournemouth at the moment are really good with getting goals past, and we're not. So, you know, one goal is all you need really to score against us, you know, to upset us and not get us the 3 points or even a point. So that's the problem with us at the moment, is we're struggling to score, but you guys aren't. But yes, in terms of you guys, it is a sort of must win if we want to get towards, you know, the European competitions again. But we do have some really tough sides coming up with Aston Villa, Manchester United at home, and Chelsea at home as well, Newcastle away. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult. But I'm just hoping really we can just keep in top 10. That's kind of what my aim is.
but the way to also look at it, beat ourselves. You know, you will get a little bit closer to Manchester United, and you do have them last game of the season, and that could be, you know, a shootout for that European spot. And you know, I think Brighton have been absolutely fantastic, especially earlier on in the season. You got off to such a good start. Was it? I'm trying to think now. Was it about 6 wins in the first 7 or something ridiculous like that?
Yeah, I think it was. And we were right up there in the top 4. And it always happens. Like, Brighton always start really well. Like, we've done it
Yeah.
for a few years now, where we've been up there in top 4 in the first like 5 to 3 games or so. So we've always started quite well. I'm not sure why. It must be some sort of mentality or something, just being hyped that the season's back. But yeah, we've always done quite well to start with, which is nice actually to get yourself going, you know, at the start of the season. So yeah.
Of course, De Zerbi has also switched around between the 2 goalkeepers. Verbruggen has played. It's literally 50-50, isn't it? Jason Steele's played 50%, and Bart Verbruggen, when I don't butcher his name, has played, you know, the other 50%. Has that you know, how much of that effect has that had? Because we've had, until the Wolves game, the same goalkeeper in Neto. You know, he's played throughout the whole season, and then Travers has come in. But has that just freshened things up? You know, how has that helped?
I think it's okay to change the goalkeeper when it's needed. If the goalkeeper's having a bad run, then yeah, it
Yeah.
makes sense to, you know, give the other goalkeeper a chance. I think it's been difficult because Jason Steele has obviously been that guy who's been waiting to get that first start for
Yeah.
quite a while. He's been in our club. He came out of Sunderland and then came to us, and he had a big refresh in his career. And he kind of felt when Robert Sanchez left us to go to Chelsea, I think he was desperate to get starting in the squad. And now Bart Verbruggen's come in, and now he's starting for his national team, Netherlands. It's been tight to who to pick, but that is the big debate with Brighton, and a lot of fans are talking about it. Should we be switching around these goalkeepers as much as we should? But it is, it is crazy, and these two goalkeepers are completely different. One's like 9 years older than the other. You've got Bart Verbruggen, who's like 21, and then Jason Stew's like 31. So it is interesting, and I do think we have been switching around a little bit too much. But recently, Bart Verbruggen has been playing a little bit more, apart from last night, where Jason still got the start.
Yeah, definitely. And let's talk about last night, because but I didn't see them doing what they did to yourselves. Is it that because you're running out of steam a little bit towards the end of the season, because you have played a large amount of games, or was it that Man City was just too good?
A little bit of both. Again, I think Man City scored some crackers. That Kevin De
Yeah.
Bruyne header was seriously good. I mean, it was definitely up to par with the header I saw that Athens scored against us in the first European game. That was an incredible header itself as well. So I was thinking, wow, okay, yeah, we're definitely playing a Man City that is not tired. Like they didn't seem tired. They were threatening, but then again, we wanted to play the sort of threatening going forwards at them, but which I'm not sure was the right decision to do, because they were very attacking as well, and it left us a bit weak. I did think we played the ball too much at the back at times as well. And again, these players are quite young. In Valentin Barco made a mistake at the back, which left Phil Foden to shoot and score. But then again, I don't blame him too much, because he had a great game. But it comes in maturity as well. He's so young, and it's like, should we be playing this way when we've got young kids like this? It's putting a lot of pressure for them to make these sort of good passes and to know this spatial awareness, considering it's his first start for the club. So, I don't think we played the right way against them yesterday, but I still think they played a good game, Man City, and deserved the win in the end, even though the ref was a bit controversial. Yeah.
Well, haven't they all been, to be honest, Luke, this season? It's been the story, hasn't it? But one thing I do want to, and you did touch on it there, is the players that you're bringing through are young players. And I think what AFC Bournemouth are doing, and you might have realised, is we're trying to kind of replicate, it feels, the Brighton model of bringing in talented young players like Zabanier and players like that, Kirkes, bringing them through and then selling them off at a profit. With this current crop that you've signed, and I think, if I'm right in thinking, you've probably signed about 15, 16, that some of them have gone into the under 21s, of course. But what do you think of them so far? Who's really stood out, and, who does need a bit more work?
I'll first talk about the guy who started for the first time yesterday, who I was very impressed in. And his name is Valentin Barco, and he's a young Argentinian, really big prospect. And there were talks about him going on loan and putting him straight on loan. And I'm thinking, we haven't given him enough yet. He played a little bit in Liverpool, like 10 minutes, and he hasn't been given enough. He's a very slim build, and it was a bit like, is he quite got the build for Premier League? Is he just going to be pushed off the ball? But yesterday I've seen a lot of pace, and also his corners were fantastic as well. So seeing really good in him. Seaman Adingra coming in, which he won the African Nations with his country. I the thing is with him is he's quite weak, and again I think he needs more time, and that's the problem with bringing these youngsters in. If you bring too many in, you're just going to get a squad full of these youngsters who don't have anyone to guide them and actually put structure, in the team.
Yes, yeah.
So it's all a bit flimsy at the moment. It needs to be a bit more tight and a bit more firm. But then again, that hasn't helped with our injuries. Matoma going out as well. He's an experienced player. And Solly March, again, he's another experienced player that knows how to play with our team. So there's been a few unlucky injuries that definitely have rocked us a bit. And of course, Lexus McAllister and all that going as well. So yeah, we are, which is tough.
Yeah, no, most definitely. But it is a model that I think we are trying to replicate. And we did talk off air about what AFC Bournemouth are doing behind the scenes, the new training ground. Of course, when the training ground is complete, then, the approach is probably going to be looking at the stadium, and then, gradually build it up from there. From a fan of a club who, let's be honest, were put at the Wivdean for a number of years before you moved to the Amex, and there was a lot of fluctuation between Division 1 and Division 2, or the Championship and League 1, as we should say now. How impressive has it been, the training facilities at Brighton, and how do you see the training facilities that we're building comparing?
And this is a good point, and this is why I like Bournemouth so much, and this is why I have a massive soft spot for them, because I see them taking the same direction as Brighton. The same thing with this, new elite training ground that they're building, and hearing your owner talk about, a new stadium is incredible, and it's exactly what you need from these smaller clubs to become bigger clubs, because you know what? It's time for some other clubs to come bigger and become fighting for the top four spots. And that's why Villa's doing so well. And it's good to see, because, I think it's time for a change. And it's really good to see Bournemouth doing what they're doing. And they're turning into, a team like Brighton that are going to hopefully probably get consistently top 10, especially with how it's all going and how you're starting to run your club with buying younger players and being more strategic in the players that you're buying, and not just going for the expensive, well-known players, going for the ones that aren't so known yet and going to turn them into these absolute beasts. So I love everything that Bournemouth are doing, and I respect it hugely.
And also, it's going to be the way of the future, isn't it, really? Because we both are two clubs that are not subject to PSR. Yourselves probably less so than we are. There might have been a little bit of a spotlight over us, but because Brighton has been so well ran, I am pretty sure that there's been nothing of concern for the FA, the Premier League. But do you sympathise with other clubs that are, subject to this? And, how can, say, for example, a club like Everton or Nottingham Forest, how can they really come into line when, they have that expectation above them?
I think it's all about the owners, and it's about how what their visions are with it. And I think a lot of the owners of these football clubs are not doing it the right way and don't fully know football and the future of football. Maybe they know the classic side of it, where he's a big name, let's buy him, or he's a big name, let's buy him. Whereas you can be more strategic with that, with who you buy and what you do with your club and what money you put in. And I think that's what we've done really well, is we put money into players that actually look like they have a bright future, and it makes your club just look more organic and just like a proper football club and how it's meant to be, not these big billionaire playgrounds where they come in and just buy whoever they want to buy because it makes them happy at the end of the day. So with Bournemouth and Brighton, I think a lot of other clubs will start to look up from us, both of us, and start to do things the way we're doing it, because it will come in time where we will start going up the table and they're thinking, oh, what are they doing? How are they getting up there? And they'll start copying how we're doing things. And yeah, that's why we're so good at the moment, and that's why Bournemouth are doing so well. But it's still early days for you lot, and that's why I hope that you keep on the right path
Yeah.
keep with it.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. And I do want to mention one other player as well who's just passed 400 appearances, but was also broken into the England team as well, and that's Lewis Dunk.
So, yeah.
What do you think? You know, how imperative is he?
He's a great player. He's a great player, and
Mhm.
he's a good captain as well.
Yeah,
And it's definitely nice to have a captain that's local,
yeah.
and he genuinely has love for the club, and I don't think he's going to go anywhere else throughout his career.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, Lewis Dunk is a great player, but yeah, in terms of England, yeah, he didn't have the greatest game, and we all know Southgate, he likes his favourites. But yeah, he's very
Yeah.
important to us. And I think he's going to be very important when he retires. I think he's going to have a lot to do with the club. A lot.
Yeah. I agree completely. And I think, you know, it's really important for a player like that to look
Yeah.
after, especially a young team, a team that's growing, Luke, that, you know, who are probably inexperienced. And I think that has been one of the key things for Roberto De Zerbi, which brings me on to my next point about De Zerbi. There is a
Mm.
lot of talk about him. How invested is he in the Brighton project? And do you think that he could be captured by one of these big clubs? Because I'll be honest, I want him to stay there. Like I want Iraola to stay here because they're great managers who are building a project. But do you feel that he might get bored with the project? That he feels that he wants to get into Europe quicker, or
Mm.
regular Europe? Because of course you've been in Europe this year. But do you feel that he might decide to opt out?
Well, yeah, that's a scary thought, isn't it? You know,
Mhm.
is he really in it? It's hard to tell. He's very good, Roberto De Zerbi, with keeping his mouth quiet. You know,
Yes.
whereas Graham Potter was like, right, yeah, Chelsea want me, I'm going straight away. And
Mhm.
that's where I do think, though, Roberto De Zerbi is actually a quality manager, because I think, you know, the manager are just quick to go straight away without even thinking about it makes me think, yeah, maybe you really aren't as good as what you were at Brighton, sort of thing, with Potter. But with Roberto, I do actually think he is a good manager, and I think in time he can be one of those managers that can take on a big, you know, a club spot. But right now, I think he's still very young, and I think, you know, he's still very new in the Premier League, and it's a very
Mhm.
different league, as we know. So yeah, in my opinion, yeah, Roberto Serbi, it's a very scary thought about him. But at the same time, I really do hope he does stay. I think it's important that he keeps his composure and he keeps building on the Premier League.
Well, I think he should stay at Brighton.
Mm.
The main reason is he should look at what's happened with Graham Potter, that Graham Potter hasn't got another job since. And it would have been better for Potter to stay at Brighton and, you know, continue with the project. But I do have to mention your owner, Tony Bloom, because
Mm.
I think one of the best owners in the game, without a shadow of a doubt at the moment, Luke. But also with his succession planning, he'll know, won't he, who Roberto De Zerbi's replacement will be in his mind already.
Yeah, he definitely will. He definitely will. But the only problem is with you know, with Tony Bloom is because they like to do things kind of as cheap as possible, but like in a
Mhm.
good way.
Yeah.
It Whereas Roberto De Zerbi is quite, you know, he's quite hectic, and he's quite up there for, you know, really, you know, taking things as quick as possible. Whereas I think Tony Bloom is a bit more slower than Roberto De Zerbi is. So
Yeah.
it all depends on if Roberto De Zerbi will just sort of allow the fact that we're not going to be spending as much as he probably wants us to. And I just hope that they can arrange an agreement and sort of meet in the middle, because I know Roberto De Zerbi wants to spend, and I know Tony Bloom doesn't want to spend as much. So yeah, he likes the fact of spending less and producing these players into, you know, fantastic players. But it is positive, and it's really good to see that Tony Bloom says that there are no heights to this club, and we want to
Mhm.
get as high as possible, you know, high as
Yeah.
physically possible with the people that we have. So it's good to hear that at least he is still up for, you know, progressing higher and, you know, keeping ourselves into going for these competitions, these European ones.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. Well, I think it's probably come to the point where we got to predict this game because, of course, we won 1-0 last time out against Wolves. I've got to be honest, they should have had the equaliser. I think Hwang's goal should have counted. I don't think there was much in it, and that's me saying it just watching the situation. I would have been devastated if that went against us. So I can understand how the Wolves fans feel. But on the spin side, we should have been about 4 or 5 up against them at that point. So, considering we're in good striking form and considering you're struggling to score, how do you reckon this is going to go, Luke?
I would like to be honest, I would personally be happy with a draw on this game. So I would like to predict either a 1-1 or a 2-1. Because we're not scoring at the moment, I'm going to go for 1-1. But I definitely think you will score because you have been non-stop since the 27th of Feb. So I think you will get a goal past us because it's been quite easy at the moment. Arsenal have gotten, goals past us, and so have City now. So, yeah, I think you will get a goal past us, but I'm hoping that, some sort of Enciso Weldy or something for an equaliser. That's what I'm hoping for.
Fair
I
enough,
am worried,
mate.
very worried.
I think I'm not going to bet against my own team, Luke. You know what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to go, and this is probably I think this is the third time in a row I predicted this. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. I think we will have a few chances. I think we'll spurn a few chances, but I think we'll get 2. I think Matoma is a massive loss at the moment, and I think that's why they're you're struggling because of the long season, the injuries, and it's always going to be very, very difficult at this time of the year, especially when you've played so many games. So that's why I'm going to go for that. But I wouldn't be surprised with you, walking away with a point or even a victory because in a way, this is an opportunity still to get a little bit closer to those European spots. You have got that game in hand of us. That will put you on 47 points. I know Chelsea have got a couple more than ourselves. They got one more than you. Games in hand. I think you could still get a European spot, but I think you probably need to win, 4 out of the 5 remaining games.
Absolutely, we do. Absolutely. And it's a hard ask, especially for
Yeah.
Villa as our next home game, and United as well, Chelsea even, with Kappa, it's worrying. So, yeah. To be honest, for me, I'm personally not bothered about Europe now. It's kind of gone out of my head. I'm more focused on just keeping top 10, still shown to the others, to the other teams that, we've still got the quality there. But we just need a little bit more time to reshape ourselves and get these players, playing well consistently.
Definitely, definitely. And I'll tell you what, how good would it be that both of us finish in the top 10 and somebody like Chelsea just fall out?
Awesome, mate. It'll be probably the best end to the season I could have asked for, to be fair. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
go into summer feeling pretty happy with that, to be fair.
definitely. I think we should just have a joint South Coast party, shouldn't we, really?
That's it. That is it.
There we are.
That is it. Bournemouth and
There we are.
Brighton team up. I love it.
Exactly. I think we'll probably come to your place because, to be honest, your place is a bit bigger, and you've got all the stands outside as well. That I saw on the recent video. So yeah, probably looks a little bit more of a place for a party than our place. But you never know. You never know. In a couple of years' time,
That's it. That's it.
when
The
the new
Vitality is
stadium's
going to
built.
turn into a beast soon, isn't it? I've heard. So
Exactly. That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
yeah,
But
definitely.
Luke, before
Yeah.
you go, do tell everybody where they can find your fantastic channel.
So I'm on YouTube. My name is Luke Links Brighton. I do all of the home and away matchday vlogs for Brighton Hove Albion, and I do a few of the new stuff as well at home and talk about what's going on with transfer news and all that kind of good stuff. The average fan channel. The average fan channel.
You're not an average fan channel. You're bloody brilliant. So go and subscribe to it. It's down below. Go click it. You click
Thank you.
subscribe, like all the videos. And yeah, honestly, our Coast clubs need to stick together.
We do.
You know,
I have a massive soft spot for the Cherries, so
likewise,
big
mate.
up to Bournemouth.
Likewise.
Love them.
You know, yeah, I much prefer you to the ones a little bit further down the road from us who are trying to get out of the championship but have
Yeah.
ultimately failed. Um,
I
but
think there's more news on Portsmouth than Southampton at the moment, isn't it? More
oh,
news
that's
on
going to
Portsmouth.
wind them all up. Oh,
Yeah.
they're going to be wound up now, mate. Especially Ryan Fraser. He can stay in
Brilliant.
the champ. But honestly,
Brilliant.
like all the very, very best for the rest of the season, of course, apart from Sunday. And no doubt we'll catch up at the game.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Craig. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate you.
Pleasure as always, mate. Cheers. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Remember, hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button below. It helps us, this channel, to grow. Also, remember, check out our other interviews. We interviewed Richie Neville from Five recently. We also had Gaz Whelan from the Happy Mondays on here, and also Damon Minchella from Ocean Colour Scene, Peter Hooton from The Farm. You name it, we've got them. But until the next video, up the cherries, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us.